pushing them away. Now the story of Ruth here, I want to remind you guys that this idea of Gerut is massively important in the story of Ruth. Okay? Massively important. The fact that we have someone coming from the outside, joining in to Am Yisrael, and in essence becoming part of Malchut Yisrael, is viewed as something that is necessary for Am Yisrael. Talked about this, I think, 2 lessons ago, when we had the lessons, of how this concept of bringing in someone from the outside, the Gerut, is a story that warrants its own book in the Tanakh. In other words, the book of Ruth, the whole book of Ruth, is the story of Moab entering Israel. In what shouldn't have happened, as we know there's an Isur of Moabim to marry into Am Yisrael, the whole story is bringing Ruth in to Am Yisrael. And we talked about this in the past, how the concept of bringing back lost sparks from the nations is a concept that is viewed very, very strongly and meaningfully in the Kabbalistic world. The idea that there are sparks out there, souls, spiritual entities that need to return to Am Yisrael. And one of the methods of this happening is through Gerim. And Dafka Moav, we talked about, is something that is inherently part of Am Yisrael, coming from Lot, and was lost for a while, and Ruth comes back to bring this back. Chazal hint to that when they say that when Moshe and others want to destroy Moab, he says, no, you can't. There's something important there that I need. You can't kill them. You can't wipe them out. There's important things that not I need, Am Yisrael needs. And this is what this Ruth is coming back and doing this. Apropos, all Gerim in that sense bring with them something that is going to add to Am Yisrael, and bring us to be more fulfilled. They have a job that can't be done within. What exactly the Moavim bring to Israel, we'll see as we go on. So that was Rashi's reading of these psukim. But I want to read with you guys the Malbim. Okay, the Malbim also talks about Ruth. He breaks down her statement. Each statement means something else. Okay, and then at the end he talks about how Ruth, in essence, touched on all the basic beliefs of Judaism. And what she does here in this statement, in these statements that she says, she in essence is sort of like accepting the Yud Gimel Ikarim of the Rambam. Okay, not all of them, but a lot of them. And that is the real giur, what we're searching for, someone who comes to Kviklos. So let's take a look at the Malbim, okay? So the Malbim starts off in the beginning, the page you guys have there, right? So Ruth says, Al tifge'i bi. Okay, it's an interesting terminology. After she tells her, go, she says, don't tifge'i bi. What does tifge'i mean?
Like harm.
So one perush of tifge'i is harm. You guys look at the Malbim, right? Ki pgi'a meshamesh al gimel dvarim. The word pgi'a can mean 3 different things. First of all, hariga, to kill someone. Like it says, vayifga bo vayamot. He hit him and he died. Okay, so that's one thing. But there are other means. The other was pgisha. To meet. Who met something, right? Vayifga b'makom. We have Yaakov Avinu. Vayifga b'makom vayalen sham. Right? He meets the place. Okay, and the third is tachanunim, asking for something. Where do we see that? The word lifgoa. So look what the pasuk he brings is another pasuk he could have brought. But Avram Avinu, when he's talking about buying Marat HaMachpelah, so he says to the people there, he says, Tifge'u li be'Ephron. He went to break his kneecaps. What did they want him to do to Ephron? Tifge'u bi. Tifge'u means to ask, to beseech Ephron on my count. So that's what Avram says. So the word tifga is a fascinating word. It has 3 different meanings in it. It has a meaning of hurting, and has a meaning of meeting, and has a meaning of asking. Okay? So what does Ruth mean here? So the Malbim here says, and I didn't bring the whole, how he explains each one of them, but he says all of these were included. Ruth was saying all this. Don't hurt me. If you make me leave you, then you're hurting me. You're hurting my soul. You're killing me. You're killing me spiritually. I can't accept not going there. So there, al tifgei bi. That was a statement. Le'ozvech, lashuv me'achoraich, to leave you and return from following you. Lashuv me'achoraich. Lashuv here means to go away, not to return to her, to turn the other way, to return me'achoraich, from your back. In other words, you're going to walk this way and I'm going to walk the other way. So the Malbim says, please don't do that. And then he also says, it has to do with Al tifgei bi, I need to be close to you. I need to meet you. I need to have this closeness that is necessary for where I am right now. And I need the b'giyah in this sense. I need the b'giyah. So this is what she's asking. Naomi. Malbim trying to use all kinds of all the perushim of tifgei. And then she starts her speech. Okay? I'm jumping on the Malbim that you guys have. Ki el asher tilchei elech. You guys see it? 4 lines from the top. I tried to bold each one of the terms. Ki el asher tilchei elech. Ritzono lamar. Bal tachshov ki tachlit alichati mishune mitachlit alichatech. She'at holechet לשם לבעבור דתך שתוכלי לשמור מצוות התלויות בארץ והתורה והמצווה ואני הולך רק בעבור השגת איזה תועלת. He goes into Ruth's mindset. She says, Naomi, listen, I'm coming with you. באשר תלכי אלך. Not where you go, I'll go, like we learned in Rashi, the Tchum Shabbat. No, you're going back to Eretz Yisrael because you want to be part of Eretz Yisrael. You want to do the mitzvot atliot b'Eretz Yisrael. You want to be connected to the land. Says Ruth, I'm going for the same reason. I'm not going after you because for a benefit. Or even for gmilut chasadim in that sense, for you. I'm going for the same reason. B'asher tilchi elech. For what you're going for, I'm going for. You want to be close and be davuk to Eretz Yisrael and do the mitzvot there. That's what I want to do also. כי תכלית הליכתי היא עצמו התכלית שאת הולכת אליו. Because that was the first thing. וכן, you guys with me? I'm like 3 lines from the bottom of this paragraph. וכן, אל תחשבי שאני מקווה איזו הצלחה זמנית, שנעשה לאיש עשיר וכדומה. Don't think I'm going there thinking that since I'm so beautiful, I'll add this, he doesn't say this, I'm so beautiful, I'll find a good husband, and I'll be rich, and I'll have a good life. No, I don't think that at all. כי באשר תליני אלין, אלון כגר בארץ וכצדיקים שהעולם הזה הוא אצלם רק כמלון אורחים. Says, I'm going to sleep there just like you. You're not going to get married again. Your life is pretty much over. I'm accepting my life is pretty much over. I'm going to go and I'm going to be there like the tzaddikim, that the olam hazeh isn't, I'm not looking for any material needs here. I don't need any material things. I'm going to join Am Yisrael, not for any benefit. Just like you, Naomi, are going back and you're completely poor and you have no hope for anything. That's what I'm coming for also.
So in this case, in this moment, she has no clue what is going to happen in the future.
No clue. She does. It's very bad what's going to happen in the future. Ken, she pretty much is going for, in her mind, and I have to remind you guys, she's not allowed to marry a Jew. It's lo barur bichlal that she's allowed to marry a Jew. The Pshat of the Psukim says Moab and Ammonite cannot marry into Am Yisrael ever. There's no 3 years, 3 generations, 10 generations, 0. She's no, right? But she's going to be single for the rest of her life, which in this day and age is ridiculous. There's no such thing as a single woman. That should never happen. It shouldn't happen now either. But it doesn't happen in that time for sure.
But in the Torah we say that the woman is only the man from Moab that can marry.
No, it doesn't say that in the Torah. It's going to say that here's where you learn it. And the story of Ruth is where they learn that idea. Okay, this is where it comes from. So, but it's going to be a big chap. It's going to be a chidush that this happens. Okay, that you can marry a Moabite, because when Machlon and Kilion married them, first of all they were goyot. They weren't Jewish, and they. And it seems like that was just a descent into intermarriage, and then Hashem kills them, and that's it. In other words, it seems that it's something completely wrong. not as much as there are Moabites. It's just they're non-Jews. So she's coming back here. We're going to see how much the people despise the Moabites. I want to remind you guys also that this period of time, when is it happening? The story of Ruth takes place probably, and again, just chronologically it works, the same time the Moabites ruled Israel and were really bad to them. Or right before, right after, whatever, right that period of time. There's no love lost between the nations, let's put it that way, okay? So she has a triple whammy, right? She's coming as a destitute woman who from the enemy, who's coming back to Israel. So all this, the Malbim also is saying she's coming with no benefits, no hope. Olam hazeh etzlam kemalon orchim. This world is all just like a guest house. I'm not looking for anything good. Ki megamata, I'm in the second to last line. Ki megamata lichati mitzad ki amech ami velokai chelokai. I'm coming because amech ami velokai chelokai. Look what he says. שכבר תפסתי תורת אלוהיך ומנהגי בני עמך ואני כאחד מבני עמך. I am Jewish. That's what she says. I have already accepted upon myself the minhagim, the customs of the Jews, the Torah, the God of the Jews. Amech ami, I am part of the nation culturally. I want to join this. And Elohayich Elohai, I am accepting Hashem as God and His mitzvot. This is what she's presenting herself to Naomi. I am 100% in this, and I'm in it clean. There's no hope for anything here. Let's go on. Ubasher, right? Tamutit amut. Vikar megamat alichati, says the Malbim, and the essential point of my coming with you is Basher tamuti amut. Wherever you die, I will die. She'amut mot yesharim, kemo shetamuti at. שהרוח תשוב אל צרור החיים ולבעבור ששם אקבר במקום שתקברי את בארץ הקדושה בקברי צדיקים המוכנים לקום בתחייה. She says, I am joining you because I want to die part of Am Yisrael. And here the Malbim quotes, for all people who have good hearing, he quotes someone else who wanted to die like Am Yisrael. Anyone remember? Tamot. No, he's a Jew.
Oh, he has to be a goy?
So a goy who asked to die as a Jew, or like the Jews. A very surprising person. Bilam. Very good, both everyone. And look, here are your quotes, right? Shamut mot yesharim. Right? That is a quote from Bilam. Right? Tamut nafshi mot yesharim v'tiyah chariti kamo. And my end should be like him. Bilam says this. Bilam, who is Midianite, connected to Moab also, they're the ones who brought him, says, Ruth, I want to die like you guys. Because when you die as a Jew, your soul is connected to the chain of life. That's the statement here. Your soul is connected to the chain of life. It says, I am coming to join this nation and spiritually change my neshama. Pretty much the statement. I realize that if I stay as a non-Jew in the world, my soul's going somewhere else. He doesn't put a big effort into explaining where the soul goes if it's not a Jewish soul. But ruach tashuv et tzrur chaim. The spirit will return to tzrur chaim, to the chain of life. Lebavur shesham ekaver. And where you die in Eretz HaKodesh, bekivrei tzadikim hamuchanim lakum betchiyah. And I'm going to die in Israel and be able to get up for tchiyat hametim. Okay, so all this Ruth understands beforehand. This is a very different take on what Ruth is saying as opposed to what Rashi was saying. Rashi was saying Ruth has a halachic acceptance, pretty much, of what's going on here, while the Malbim explains that she's accepting the spiritual ideals of Am Yisrael as her own, and this is how she presents herself to Naomi. Okay, so again, in the Gerut process, sometimes they ask, right, what are the Shoshes Ikarim? What are the 13 principles of faith of the Rambam? These are basic things that have to be accepted. Ko yaseh li, I'm reading on in the third line in the Malbim in Yud Zayin. Ko yaseh li Elohim nishbe'a b'shvuah lekayem dvareha shezot ikar kavanata ki hamavet yafrid beni uvenech. This is what I found was the most interesting, and he continues. she says to him, I swear this is what I'm doing, because really death is the great divider. What do we usually say? Death is the great equalizer, we usually say. You ever hear that? That statement? Death is the great equalizer. You could be as strong as you want, you could be as weak as you want, as rich as you want. When you die, you're dead. This is exactly the opposite of what Ruth says. Ruth says exactly the opposite. She says, Ki hamavet yafrid beni uvenech. Be'emet, death is what separates me, Ruth the Moaviyah, as opposed to me, Ruth the Jew, or you know me, the Jew. That's what separates. That's what I don't want to happen. Look what the Malbim says. Ritzoni lomar, shemegamat alichati, the purpose of my coming to you, imach, with you, hu mipnei sheraiti ve'evanti, שהמוות ישים הבדל גדול בינינו, שהגם שבחיים דבקתי עמך, שהגם שהדת הפריד בינינו, בכל זה היינו מחוברים יחד באהבה. It says, I understand that we were close. Beseder, when we were alive, I loved you, we were close as family, it was nice, it looked pretty from the outside, but when we die, אבל אחר המוות נהיה מופרדים, כי את תדבק באלוהי הרוחות. You will cleave to the God of the Spirit, ואני אהיה נידחה בין מחיצת עובדי גידולים, and I will be pushed aside, shunted aside, to the side of those who serve idolatry. לכן אבקש להתגייר, שאז לא ניפרד גם במוות. I want to join you so that we're not separated at death. Dafka at death. Not even at death, dafka at death. She says, in life, I'm close to you, but I realize that there's an essential difference between us. So the Malbim here is playing off a spiritual statement of the difference between Jews and non-Jews. That there's something essentially different. And it can be changed in Giur. When Giur happens, it shifts. And Ruth is pushing for this to happen. She says, I accept it, I know it, and this is what I want to be part of. And after Naomi hears all this, and she lets go. Right? She sees that she's really, really trying, and she stops. Take a look here at the Malbim, who summarizes the things, and he says, in these words, Gilta ki kvar nechonim beliba kol yisodei ha'emunah. In these words that she said, we saw that they were prepared in her heart all the essentials of belief. 1. Mitziut Hashem v'achduto. The existence of Hashem and His oneness. Like it says, Elohai Elohai. 2. Torat Yisrael u'minagehem. The Torah and their customs. Like it says, B'asher tilchi elech. Wherever you go, Ritzono lomar she'elech b'derech tovim u'b'derkei Torah. I'm going to go in the path of the righteous and the path of the Torah. Ve'amra amechami. Continuing that also, that I'll continue their custom. She believed in the fact that the soul continues living after you died. And in reward and punishment in the world to come. And the resurrection of the dead. Okay? I'm going to leave the continue afterwards. And then he says, Be'emet, the Malbim finishes up in Yudchet, V'teren, she saw, Achar sherata shemitgayeret belev shalem, chadla ledaber elea kedem. After she sees she really wants to do Giur full-heartedly, accepting these essentials of faith, that was it. Rabbi say, this is the only te'ur, description of Giur in the Tanakh. Okay? There's no other tiur of there. We say in Har Sinai there was a whole process there of the Zrikat Adam and the Brit. Never do you see so clearly someone who is not Jewish and he wants to be Jewish. Okay? It's the only case where you have it. You have people going back and forth, but it's unclear in the Tanakh. Were they Jewish? Like whoever learned Shmuel with me, and we saw different places. This guy, is he? And the Mefarshim have a field day. He was Jewish. He wasn't Jewish. He was Jewish. He wasn't Jewish. We're not sure. It says he's from Gat. He's from Chiti. He's all kinds of Uriah, right? Uriah, David's Bathsheba's husband, Uriah Hittite, was he Jewish? Was he not Jewish? Was a Hittite? Was he from there? These are all discussions that we have. But whenever you meet someone who's clearly not Jewish, Ruth is clearly not Jewish, and she's clearly doing some kind of remarkable journey here to join her. How do we know it's a remarkable journey? Because Orpah left. Because Orpah didn't do this journey. Orpah stays, and Naomi pushes her away. And she still does. Okay, so this is one of the reasons, one of the major reasons we read Ruth on Shavuos, is because on Matan Torah there was a giur also in a sense, right? That's where you learn Hilchot Giur from also. And you need a Brit Milah and a Korban and Tefillah that you learn from what happens at Har Sinai. And that's the halachot of Gerit, I would say the practical halachot, but the acceptance of mitzvot you could learn from Matan Torah, Nasev Nishma, but from here, Mamash. Okay? So these psukim are massively important in understanding how Giur works, and Be'emet Chazal read it this way. Tov, Ad Kan. We're finished this part of Naomi, of Ruth's conversion. Now it's time to come to Israel. So it's very sweet and very beautiful, everything she's been doing. But now comes the hard part. All right? She's coming now. It happens. I imagine a lot of you guys also, there's a hard part of deciding to come to Israel. Join Am Yisrael, Chozer B'tshuva, whatever it is, make Aliyah, whatever, all the different things. There's the decision. The decision is very difficult to make. It means to be'emet leave everything. And then sort of what you hope would happen is when you come, then everyone's going to give you an open hands and open arms and say, oh, is a yofi, you're here, betach, we're going to make it all wonderful. It doesn't always work that way. And it's not going to and it's not going to work that way for Ruth either. Okay? When she comes, she is very unique, and she's going to have to break through a lot of stereotyping to be able to become part of Am Yisrael. Okay? And she's going to need a champion, and she's going to meet with Boaz at some point, who's going to cut the red tape to be able to get into the system. And we're going to see that how the people relate to them when they come back. So let's take a look. Okay? Pasuk Yutet. Vatelachna shtehem ad boana bet lachem vayike boana bet lechem vatehom kol ha'ir alehem vatomarna azot Naomi. So if we want to first, I'll explain what I read. Right, they walk, the two of them, ad boana bet lechem, until they get to Bet Lechem. Vayike boana bet lechem, and then when they come to Bet Lechem, vatehom kol ha'ir alehem, the whole city. Tehom. Tehom is a funny word. It's like a mehuma, like a what?
Like a
balagan.
Depths, right?
The depth, like Tehom are the depths. A mehuma is when something is a big balagan. Okay, a big balagan. Vatehom kol ha'ir alehem. The whole city. There's a balagan on them. Okay. Vatomarna hazot Naomi. Now, who's V'tomarna?
The people in the Amish.
V'tomarna is usually one person. V'tomarna azot Naomi. So just before I go back to the Telechna Shtehem, which is very important, just the end of the pasuk is a great pasuk on how gossip works. Okay? It's not that they all yelled out together, "Whoa, is this Naomi?" No. One of them said this. Another one said, "Oh my gosh, did you see what she's wearing? And who's that girl who came with her? She's a Moabite." What? Naomi? Where's her husband? Where are her kids? Where's her money? The Midrash says she went out rich, she came back poor. She went out in big wagons. She came back by foot. She came out looking rosy and red. She's coming back green and gaunt and from hunger. This is Naomi. They're talking. Now, what doesn't it say? What doesn't it say here? They welcome her with open arms. It doesn't say Brucha Hashava, welcome back. We're going to see in a pasuk that what do they have to do in order to sustain themselves?
They have to work.
Work is good. What do they have to do? They have to go gather the field. Matnot aniyim. They have to do that was a Shir and Shavuos, right? They have to go gather all the wheat.
They saw her as liability.
Where's everybody? Where's the help? Where's the backup? Just like when people, in other words, people can talk to you and people can talk about you. When people are talking about you, you're in big trouble. Okay? When you have the gossips talking about you, then that's people who are not coming to help. They're even to some point maybe enjoying the situation they see. They're a little vindicative, a little not jealous here in this case. They're vengeful against Naomi. And why are they vengeful against Naomi? Because she left. She left them to die. If you guys remember when they left, there was a Ra'av. It was a famine. And who had the money? Elimelech had the money. And he left. Disappeared. 10 years. He disappeared. They probably curse his name, Elimelech. And suddenly who appears back? Naomi. And who is she coming with? The Moabite woman. We can understand the people here and their feelings towards her. But there's no chesed. Mamash not chesed. Okay?
That's what I'm talking about. It's like they saw them as liabilities in the community.
Both liability, another poor person coming to beg,
Right.
but also there's they're vengeful. In other words, Megillat, she deserves it. Naomi, right? If I was writing a book, there would be a word in I would say, I have to say it nicely, in joyful surprise, or and I'm not a writer in English. In like shocked but really enjoying being shocked. Is that Naomi? Why? There's like it's like they're shocked to see her, Ben Met, but it's not shocked and go, oh, is that Naomi? It's, whoa, is that Naomi? There's no compassion in that statement. Okay?
Satisfaction.
The compassion's not there. There's satisfaction. There's vengefulness. That's what there is. Okay. Anyway, but before we go and continue from there, and we'll see how Naomi reacts, because Naomi goes right up to them. Okay, and we'll see how Naomi how we react to gossip and slander. What are you supposed to do when things are happening like that? Naomi does it properly. Before that, I just wanted to point out the word v'telach tashnehem. They go together. Does that remind you guys of anyone else who goes together? It's a powerful term. V'telach tashnehem.
And Avram.
Meuleh. Very good at that kedah. Right? Vayilchu shnehem yachdav. Says it twice. The Akedah and like the ultimate story, right? It says they're walking together, and then Yitzchak asks Avram, "Where's the sacrifice?" And what does Avram answer him? God will show us the sacrifice. And then again, it says the pasuk Vayilchu shnehem yachdav. Okay, once, twice. It's a fascinating, beautiful literary structure there of how they, as Rashi points out there, Yitzchak was going together, fully trusting Avram in the beginning and also afterwards, after he was told and hinted to that it's going to be him. But so it's clearly hinting to the Akedah in my mind. V'telachna shtehem. They go together, the two of them. Chazal here say, Bo re kama chavivim agirim. Say Chazal, and Rashi quotes it, let me show you how much the Gerim are loved before Hashem. Once she wanted to be a ger, she's just like Naomi. The minute she becomes a ger, she's just like Naomi. That's what the Chazal read here. Now they're together. It's not Naomi, the Jew, and Ruth the Moaviyah. She's a ger. She's part of Am Yisrael. Again, I'll read it in. Bo ure kama chavivim agerim lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Come and see, it's a quote from Rabbi Abau. Come and see how loved are the gerim before Hashem. Kevan shenatna da'ata litgayer, the minute she wanted to do giyur, Yishva ota katuv Naomi. She's just like Naomi. Okay? The Malbim also quotes this. The same midrash. She's the same as Naomi. And for our purposes, they're both going to the Akedah together. They're coming to the Akedah. When we talk about, do they realize what they're getting into? Did Avram know what he's getting into? He knew what he's getting into. After it says Vayilchu shneim yachdav the second time, did Yitzchak know what he's getting into? Yitzchak knew what he's getting into. Yet they do it anyway, because that's Tzon Hashem. That's they're elevating Ruth and Naomi to the Akedah, to Avram and Yitzchak. That's what they're hinting to. They're going for the love of God, for all the right reasons, into what is going to be hell for them, in essence. Death. A suffering, long suffering, no hope situation. That's where they're going into. Just like Avram was about to kill his son and lose all his dreams. Nachon, you have to remember, the big, besides killing your son, which is a very hard thing to do, it goes against everything he was promised. Avram was promised to have a zera. He was promised that his zera, his continuous seed, will be through Yitzchak. And then Hashem says, go sacrifice it. The believer in Hashem goes through these things, as difficult as they are, and they go, and you do it. Yours is not to ask what it will be the end result. Yours is to do the proper thing. And that's, I think, this is the statement they had right before we hit the boom. The statement is they're going in, they know what they're going into, and it happens as soon as they get there. As opposed to that Kedah, where Hashem says, Al tishlach yadcha lanar, here they get bashed. Okay, they come in and everyone goes berserk. Okay, now one of the understandings of exactly where they were and how they came into the city, did they walk into the main gate? Did they come in with a banner that says, "Hey guys, I'm back. Here I am." So the Midrash says that at this point, why was the whole city? How did the whole city fall on them? Well, when you come into a city, it takes time. What's vateinu with them kol ha'ir? So the Midrash here says that at this point of time, exactly Boaz's wife died. Boaz's wife that just died. They explain it to show how meduyak Hashem's actions are in the Midrash. That biduk she dies and biduk Ruth comes, his next wife comes. But in another way of reading it, it's reading that they tried to sneak in, and then suddenly everyone was there. Everyone was there. They came in from the back way through the Beit Kvarot, through the cemetery, and the whole city is there burying Boaz's wife. Why did she die? We don't know. Maybe also from hunger. Maybe it adds to the fire. Maybe it adds to the thing. Even though we said that the situation was already better when they're coming back. Whatever it is, they fall on Naomi. So let's stick with Naomi answers. Vatomer alehen pasuk kaf. Okay. Vatomer alehem al tikrena li Naomi kirena li mara ki hemar shadai li meod ani melea alachti v'rika meshivani Adonai. למה תקראנה לי נעמי ואדוני ענבי ושדי הרע לי ותשוב נעמי ורות המואביה כלתה עמה שבה משדה מואב והם באו בית לחם בתחילת קציר שעורים. Let's take a look at these psukim. She says to them, don't call me Naomi. Right? You asked, Hazot Naomi? Is this Naomi? She said, don't call me Naomi. Kirena li mara. Call me
bitter. The bitter lady. Ki hemar shadai li me'od, because Hashem has caused me great pain. Ani mele'ah halachti. We're going to go back in a minute to the word shadai, okay, which is not a common terminology. Okay, it's not a regular one, right? It's a unique terminology. Ani mele'ah halachti. I went back full. Vereka meshivani Adonai. Here she uses Shem Hashem, right? I went full and I'm coming back empty. Lama tikrena Naomi? Why would you call me Naomi? Vadonai anavi v'shadai herali. Once again. So right, if you guys see, if you like literary structures, you have the Shem Shin Daled Yud in the beginning and at the end, in the middle two Shemot Hashem. That's how she plays it off. As she seems repetitive. She seems to say it a bunch of times. Why do you keep calling me Naomi?
I'm not good, I had bad, Hashem didn't do good for me. It's repetitive in the Psukim. It's Bemet built in a chiastic structure. So what is she saying? What is her statement? So the Malbim has a whole statement here about she's giving them a lecture in the way Hashem works in the world. Okay? You may have thought, says the Malbim, okay, you may have thought that Hashem, first of all, you may have thought that I have something left, okay, that I've been thrown out, but I'm coming back with something. So you should know I'm coming back with nothing. And he says, sometimes Hashem raises someone up very greatly in order to bring him down really strong. And all my riches from beforehand that you guys were jealous of, don't be jealous of. Don't be jealous. It was all brought up to bring me down. Sometimes that's what Hashem does. He gives someone riches, he gives someone zchuyot, or he gives someone, not zchuyot is the wrong word, he gives someone what seems to be a good life in this world and this time, in order to bring him down afterwards. It's not always for his benefit that he is raised up. It's a scary thought a little bit. But Naomi says, the fact that I was raised up was not to my benefit. In the end of the day, it's what hurt us. Now, we also know that it may have been really what hurt her, in the sense that when you get riches, it's a test. Riches is a test, and Elimelech failed the test. He didn't use his money for tzedakah. He didn't use his money for the good things. He took his money and ran. Says Naomi, you guys are angry, you're jealous of me, you're vindicative. You should know my life was not a good life in that sense. I was singled out, and Hashem punished us for what we did. Okay? The word Shaddai, the name Shaddai, that Hashem, where is this? Sha'amar lo olamodai. Okay, it's a word that has to do with gvura. That has to do with boundaries. It's a word of din. Okay? The midrash is they play on the word dai, right? That Hashem made the ocean, and the ocean was threatening to break over the world and take over the world until Hashem said stop. Okay, Sha'amar lo dai. He said to his word dai, stop. Shaddai is a word of stopping, holding back. Okay, there is a harshness to the name Shin Daled Yud. Okay, that is different. So she says, Hemar Shaddai li me'od. That's what she said at the beginning, right? Very bitterly Shaddai did to me. And she ends it, Uveshaddai herali. And Shaddai did bad to me, again, or brought things for evil for me. So in the middle, she has Rekam Heshivani Hashem and Vashem Anabi. Okay, Anabi means Rashi says he told me, he answered me, he showed that I did bad before him. But I think part of the term that Naomi says here is she understands that her bitterness and her hardship comes from Hashem. Yud Kei Vav Kei is a Shem of Rachamim. Okay? Shaddai is a Shem of Din, and Yud Kei Vav Kei is a Shem of Rachamim. Naomi recognizes it in herself, understanding that outwardly she suffered greatly from the Midat Din, but essentially inside, her belief in HaKadosh Baruch Hu as El Rachamim exists. It still remains there. Even though, in other words, who hurt you? Right? That's what she says here, right? Reicham Heshivani Hashem, Hashem Anabi. It's Hashem who did it. I recognize that it's Hashem who did it. There's a question, who's doing this to me, right? I think in other worlds, we tend to say the evil God did it to me. The evil happened from the evil God, while the good God does good. We don't believe that. We believe there's one God. And therefore, the one God who did it in his inner essence is Yud Kei Vav Kei, is Shem Rachamim. And even if outwardly it looks very hard, inwardly we know it's coming from Rachamim. It's a challenge to do this in real life. So we all know, from the youngest to the oldest here, I'm sure you've gone through difficulties in your lives at different points and different things, and sometimes what outwardly looks as very harsh, the lev of the event is that Hashem is punishing us, or Hashem is doing what He's doing, and Hashem is in essentially love. Okay, not that there's no din. There's din. If you say, Chazal say, if you say Hashem is Kol Omer Hashem Vatran Yevatru Me'or, if you say Hashem doesn't care and He lets things like slide, you're in big trouble if you say something like that. Hashem has din. There's din, but inside the din is rachamim. So I think this is Naomi's statement that she's saying here. In other words, Naomi, as the great believer, understands, presents to the people that she's been bashed, and Hashem bemet bashed her. She understands that the basher is Hashem, right? It makes a difference if someone's beating you up is someone who loves you or someone who hates you. The person beating you up is someone who loves you. It's a different kind of beating up. It's not that you're going to be black and blue. It's going to hurt, but it's a completely different story. And the person doing it is lahavya. So, Kaf Bet. We'll finish up here. Vatoshav Naomi ve'Ruta Moavia kalata ima shava misde Moav. Now here I just want to point out, from this point on, we're going to notice what Ruth is called. Okay, Ruth Moavia, Ruth the Moabite, or not, or just Ruth, or Ruth something else. Okay, so we're going to follow this because it's going to be important to notice each time. Okay, and who emphasizes what. So this is the summarization again. It seems to be, because it already said that she came back. Vatashov Naomi, Beruta Moavia kalata ima, hashava misde Moav. Who's returning from Ste Moav? So who's returning from Ste Moav? We talked about this in the past. Who's returning from Ste Moav? Naomi's returning from Ste Moav. Is Ruth returning from Ste Moav?
Naomi Ruth.
Just in the pshat, Vatashov Naomi, Veruta Moavia kalata ima. So Naomi comes back and Ruth is with her. Hashava misde Moav. Who's Hashava misde Moav? It has to be Ruth, right? Because Naomi came back already. Vatashov Naomi, Veruta Moavi kalata ima, Hashava misde Moav. What does that mean?
Why would you say it would be Ruth? I thought it would have to be Naomi.
But he just said Vatashov Naomi. Why do I have to say it again?
Right.
It just has to. I mean, it doesn't. You're right. I wouldn't say offhand. I wouldn't say it's Ruth, but it's not Naomi. It just said Vatashov Naomi. Why do you say Ashava? Why do you have to say repeat it? Ashava misde Moav. And it can't be Ruth because
Can't be.
Ruth was never there before. No Shava. Haba. Right? You guys understand? Shava means return.
Right.
Ruth was never in Israel before. She's not Shava.
Mm-hmm.
But she has a Jewish soul, right?
That's probably the key. Understand what a Shava means here.
Yeah, you kind of
She
force it
is
now.
returning. What?
It's almost like you're forcing it. You
Can. It almost forces you to say that. In other words, Ruth is coming back. Ruth's soul is coming back from everything we talked about before. The soul's coming back, and the people, the sparks that were dispersed and are coming back. It seems almost pshat here. She's returning from Ste Moav. She's coming from the Moabite desert in that sense. The world at large. She's returning to Eretz Yisrael, to Am Yisrael. Now all this is happening while outwardly they're getting bashed, Naomi and Ruth. In other words, people are gossiping about them. No one's lending them a hand. No one's appreciating that this event is a huge spiritual moment in Jewish history. Mamash not. They're judging her harshly. They're gossiping. They're slandering. No one's lending a hand to help. They're coming back. And they come back in the beginning of Ksir Seorim, the beginning of the time of the reaping of the barley, meaning Pesach. They're coming back in Pesach time. That's when they're coming back. Okay? Now, fascinatingly enough, on Pesach, how do we start off the Haggadah? That's the first thing we say in the Haggadah. Halach ma'anya. Right? This bread of affliction. And then how does it go on? Kol dera'ev. Anyone who's hungry, come and eat. Anyone who needs to sit, come and sit. The next thing we're going to see is Ruth and Naomi in the beginning of the next chapter figuring out how they're going to live, how they're going to eat, what are they going to do. And here you have the story of no one is giving them anything. nothing. They don't have anything. The people who go out and pick the leket are the poorest of the poor. Okay? Those are the people who have nothing. In order to eat that day, they have to go gather the grains, because otherwise they have no food whatsoever. So there, leket was met the lowest of the levels. Okay?
Well, what was the halacha that you had to? There was like you couldn't have a certain amount of money to
right, and ani has to be under 200 zuz. Nachon.
Like three days worth of food or something like that.
Right, you can't possess. All right, from a certain amount of money and lower, you're considered an ani, and if you have more than that, you can't. You're right, you can't do matnot anim. You can't take peah, you can't take leket. We're talking about really the poorest of the poor. That's what we're dealing with here. People who are mamash destitute. Okay, but our question, and we're going to start off also after we talk about Boaz and how good he does and how amazing how he is. Why didn't he help her beforehand? What is Naomi supposed to do at this point? So there, Ruth HaMoaviyah comes, Shava, but it's not recognized. And I just want to point out, and again, we'll stop, that sometimes great spiritual things happen, and everyone thinks the opposite. You don't recognize it at all. They think it's horrible. They're angry. It's negative. We don't have anyone to do with these people. Dafka, those people sometimes are the Geula. Quote me up. Give me a quote from Hallel that says exactly what I just said.
Even Masu
Abonim Haita lerosh pina. The stone that was disgusted or thrown away by the people, that became the cornerstone or the headstone or whatever.
Cornerstone.
What?
Cornerstone.
So it's Rosh Pina, I think, whatever. Anyway, the most important part of the building. It said there, that statement is a spiritual rule that happens often. I have to say it's carefully. It's said. Rav Kook talks about this also, that there's often the spiritual eyes that see the proper process happening is very hard to see. It's very hard to see. Dafka, for some reason, Geula comes dressed up poorly. Let's put it that way. Or in a place you would really not think it's coming from. Okay? And here, Ruth is a Moabite coming with Naomi, we can't stand. To think that they're going to be the mothers of Malchut, the mothers of Mashiach ben David, is no one would have believed you had you said that at that moment. We're going to have to talk a little bit about why these things work that way. We talked about it a little in the past. It's one of the major stories of Megillat. Bezrat Hashem. Laila Tov, Rabbi Isai. Nizkeh.